How would Labour pay for this?
You've got to review defence spending. You've got to
increase it.
Defence planning.
Is that what you're saying? You've got to review it. But what you're actually saying is you've got to increase taxes or increase borrowing. Which is it?
Look, any democracy has to respond to newly realised threats that we face to our security. That's true of Britain, it's true of the rest of Europe. Labour in government did exactly that after the 9/11 attacks, when we increased the defence spending with the largest sustained increase then for 2 decades. Now it needs that review of defence spending in light of the growing threats. It needs a halt to the army cuts. And you challenged me in opposition. It's a fair question, but I have to say to you, you simply can't fix detailed figures from opposition without seeing the highly confidential military information on threats, on weapons systems, on adversaries' plans, and on costs. But Labour will always commit what's needed to defend the country, just as we did in government. And over those 13 years of Labour in government, up until 2010, the average spend in NATO terms was 2.4% of Britain's GDP on defence.
John, there's another problem, though, whether you would reverse those cuts or, whatever you would do in terms of increasing budget for the armed forces. How do you get people today, young people today, to join the armed forces? I mean, they won't even join the hospitality sector in the country. How on earth do you persuade them to bolster the army, for instance?
It's a really good question and a big challenge. Our forces offer training and comradeship that is second to none. It is the ultimate public service on behalf of us all. But I've also argued that you have to give people, and this is part of the government's job, and actually I think a NATO lead role as well, giving people the belief that our country, our democracy, is worth defending. And this, of course, is exactly what Putin and other enemies of European democracies are trying to do. They're trying to divide us in this country, they're trying to divide allies, and they're trying to undermine our very belief that we're in a country, in a system that's worth fighting for. And so I want to see the government and all political parties playing a much more active role in recognising that if we want strong armed forces, strong defences, we have to have a strong belief in our own country. This is worth defending, and I think you'll find then young people more willing to see the, not just a sense of duty, but the opportunity for them to serve in our forces.